many Subnautica veterans already know, that giant ship in the distance at the start of the first game is the crashed Aurora ship, of which the player character was originally on board before being shot down. The Aurora was initially coming into contact with the planet in order to build a phase gate for faster than light travel to the system. But also, there was a top secret secondary mission in order to figure out what had happened to a previously downed ship called the Degassi, a Mongolian vessel Altera had interest in. But upon finding the planet, the Aurora was shot down, and only 25 of the 50 escape pods on the port side were able to be fired before the crash landing. In the actual game, however, only 10 of these pods, including the one we start in as the player, can be found. So this naturally starts to make us wonder, what happened to the other 15 life pods that did in fact successfully deploy from the Aurora? One possibility is that they simply were damaged beyond recognition during the crash landing. Because while they did successfully deploy per the Aurora computer logs, that doesn't mean the massive amount of debris flying in the air after the cannon shot wouldn't have proved fatal for most life pods. The fact that our pod is still in such good condition, for example, is a miracle in and of itself. Another idea is that some of the pods may have crash landed on some of the actual terrain of the planet above water, and have been decimated by the impact. This certainly could have been the case because while most of the planet is underwater, there are also large pockets of landmass, as we see in the sequel Below Zero. But one of the most haunting and probably most likely theories is that these remaining 15 life pods actually landed in the hellish void zone. If this were the case, the inhabitants would have been subject to a slow and painful descent, tens of thousands of meters underwater, where some would have been swallowed whole by ghost leviathans on their travel downward, and the unlucky few who made it to the bottom would have been met with the most unbelievable and crazy creatures and fauna in the entire universe, likely doing everything they could to survive before meeting their end, or simply dying instantly due to the high amounts of pressure at those depths. The last theory, and potentially worst of all, is the idea that the life pods were never meant to actually save anyone in the first place. This postulation comes from the fact that our own life pod, and all of the others we find in game, are very sparse on resources. Anyone that was in fact trapped in these in space or planet side would need to find other shelter and resources pretty much immediately or meet their certain doom. We already know that Altera is a very evil corporation in the game in many ways, so it begs the question, could Altera purposely have not put survival equipment in each pod in order to save on costs? After all, it would be much cheaper to just compensate the families for their loss than to fund an entire new expedition through multiple phase gates for rescue, especially in a location where ships are known to go missing. At the end of the day though, we still don't know what happened to the missing Aurora life pods, and if anything, I'm hoping the next installment in the series will finally shed some light on this big mystery.